Good morning. I'm Jean Hamerman, Acting Executive Director with the Center for Creative Land Recycling, or CCLR. And it is a good morning for me. I just rushed back from my daughter's high school graduation, and it does remind us that even in this period of COVID, it is important to mark milestones with friends and family. And this conference is a milestone. We're so pleased to be working with US EPA Region 2 to bring you the first Caribbean Brownfield Week. It is virtual. We had planned an in-person event for May 2020 in St. Croix on the theme of It Takes a Village, working together for revitalization, which was unfortunately canceled due to the COVID pandemic. But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to convene stakeholders working on community revitalization, so we moved forward virtually. We welcome each of you and look forward to learning from you and sharing our expertise around building resilient communities. CCLR is the leading national not-for-profit dedicated to transforming communities through land recycling. Next slide. This means converting abandoned or vacant commercial industrial properties to assets that benefit the community, create jobs, and generate new tax revenues. Over the past 20 years, we have assisted in bringing millions of dollars into communities across the United States and the Caribbean, and trained over 10,000 community and municipal professionals through workshops and technical assistance. We are US EPA's technical assistance to brownfield communities for 10 states and territories, including the Caribbean. Next slide. CCLR operates offices in New York, California, and Puerto Rico. We have a talented team in the Caribbean, including Senior Advisor David Southgate, who has provided the leadership for this week's conference, Sonia Cosme from EDS, and Luis Gallardo from the Center for Habitat Reconstruction. Visit their speaker profiles and connect with them here and after the conference. Next slide. The team has worked with over 100 communities in the Caribbean during the past 5 years, providing technical assistance and supporting applications for EPA brownfield grants and targeted brownfield assessments. CCLR is your go-to resource for all things revitalization. We'll meet you where you're at and direct you to where you need to go. Next slide. I hope you'll connect with us on social media and visit our booth and request more information so we can connect with you. We're now going to take a few minutes to share CCLR's What is Land Recycling video.
It's great to talk about land recycling when you've experienced it and can get excited about it. I'm Iglesias, and I help cities recycle land. Where I'm standing now, there used to be a pockmarked street with a railroad running right in the middle of it, many vacant properties, there were abandoned buildings, and there were many sites with very serious contamination. 20 years ago, I would not dream about walking in this neighborhood. Go to Emeryville now, and it's a very walkable place. There are a lot more parks, more streetscape, there are a lot more shops. We have new residences going up. We have a greenway where people can bike and walk, schools, and a whole lot of other uses that weren't here years ago. When you see so much life in a neighborhood that had none, it really just feels so much better. When cities want to improve their neighborhoods, they eventually have to recycle land. Land recycling is reusing abandoned property for better uses. Many communities leave these properties behind because they're afraid that there may be contamination. These are what we call brownfields. Brownfields definitely drag down the neighborhood because nobody wants to be there. But these brownfields are also opportunities. When redeveloped, it also improves not just that site, but everything else around it. The alternative to reusing brownfields is abandoning the city and building on virgin land outside city limits, which could lead to sprawl. You have to build new freeways, you cause more traffic, and you are also affecting air pollution and the watersheds. Now, think about developing on brownfields within cities. People are closer to established communities where they have the jobs, where they have the parks, and that in itself is a sustainable form of development because you're driving less. You need less road per person. That really preserves a lot of land, and it values neighborhoods and builds communities from within. So it's a win-win-win. There are many examples of good land recycling. It's been done successfully, and we can teach it. There are communities like Milwaukee that redeveloped the entire Menominee Valley. The Menominee Valley was 1,200 acres of blight. there were many abandoned factories. So rather than build into virgin land, they saw the value of taking this blighted piece of property and redeveloping it and bring jobs back. It is now an eco-industrial park with regional trails, a center for business and recreation. It's a great success story that is used as a model nationwide. Atlantic Station is one of the largest single-site brownfields redevelopment projects in the country. And it used to be a steel mill. Now they have dense development where they have housing above retail. And so it's a place where you don't have to drive from place to place. You can park once and walk. It's a new neighborhood right in the heart of Atlanta. Our challenge is helping communities break down the steps in land recycling and imagine how it might improve their quality of life. CCLR has a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency to provide assistance to communities that want to redevelop brownfields. We provide technical assistance, we provide project support, and we mentor cities so that they can redevelop brownfields. It's hard work, but when you show them the excitement and enjoyment that comes out of having recycled a piece of land, and when they see how wonderful a place can be, that really feels great.
The tagline of this conference is Reimagining Resilient Communities. At CCLR, we connect the dots between underutilized or environmentally impacted properties and environmental justice, resilience, and community building. Whether it's an old abandoned gas station, a military base, or an old factory, all of these properties deserve second acts. Assessing whether there is environmental contamination and cleaning up these properties gives us a chance to build back better in ways that strengthen and protect communities from natural disasters, improves quality of life, and prioritizes energy independence. I'm now pleased to introduce you to the dignitaries who will be providing welcome remarks to this morning's conference. Walter Mugdan is currently serving as the acting regional administrator for Region 2 of the United States Protection Agency. He has a long career in various leadership roles at EPA, and Minister Mugdan has spoken at CCLR events in New York, and we value our shared commitment to building stronger, resilient communities. Walter.
Thanks so much, Jean, and good morning to everybody. I'm Walter Mugdan, as Jean said. I'm the acting regional administrator for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Region 2. Our region serves New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and 8 federally recognized Indian nations. Today and during this whole week, we've been talking about the importance of cleaning up and rehabilitating brownfields. And I'm proud that EPA can be a catalyst to help make communities safer and healthier places to work, live, and play by supporting brownfields cleanups in different ways. I'm extremely pleased that we'll be hearing in just a few minutes from Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, who's been representing the U.S. Virgin Islands since 2015. Congresswoman Plaskett has been a tireless advocate on behalf of her constituents and for the conservation of the many wonderful natural resources in the Virgin Islands. EPA Region 2 has greatly appreciated her attentiveness and her interest in our work over the years. I also want to give another thank you to the EPA Brownfields team that made today and this whole week possible, including Ariel Iglesias, Terry Wesley, Yocasta de Jesus, Zolimar Luna, and Shanine Mitchell. Now, many of you have already known these folks and have worked with them, and we're very, very lucky to have them as colleagues. And thanks also to CCLR for their terrific support for this Caribbean Brownfields Week program. Revitalizing the land on which we all live is paramount in addressing climate resiliency and improving the health of our environment, which will ultimately improve human health, of course. This is and always has been central to EPA's founding mission. Redeveloping brownfields has been an important part of EPA's work since our brownfields program began in 1995. And in the last 2.5 decades, it's proven to be immensely successful in improving the quality of life for the people and the economic and social well-being of our local communities. Of course, all of EPA's work is aimed toward making people's lives and our environment healthier, but few programs are as transformative as the EPA Brownfields program. As you may have heard on Tuesday, I announced brownfield grants to 3 municipalities in Puerto Rico that we'll be assessing and cleaning up contaminated properties in order to restore them to productive reuse. And while we're not announcing a brownfields grant this year to an organization within the Virgin Islands, EPA staff are already assisting interested applicants ahead of next year's cycle of brownfields grants. And we're also providing one-on-one assistance to strengthen application proposals received from organizations that were not selected this year. By the way, I want to say it happens frequently that organizations that are not selected in one year, but come back with a stronger application, are selected the following year. And in fact, that's the case with some of the Puerto Rico grantees and elsewhere around the country that were announced this past week. So I encourage any applicant that wasn't selected this time around to work with us and apply again. We're carrying out expanded outreach efforts, and we're utilizing a variety of tools from EPA's Brownfields program. So, for example, EPA staff are providing technical assistance and free of charge targeted brownfield assessments with contractors for strategic projects. And we're working with the Virgin Islands Department of Planning and Natural Resources to support their efforts to develop a territory-wide response program. This sort of program can perform technical assistance activities similar to those offered by EPA, as well as establish an inventory of brownfield properties across the territory. The EPA also provides annual funding to DPNR to support and maintain its brownfield program. One of the brownfields projects where EPA is providing technical assistance here in the Virgin Islands involves direct assistance to Crucian heritage and nature tourism for the Fort Frederick site located in Frederiksted, St. Croix. The technical assistance EPA experts have provided will be aligned with the planning process to restore the historic fort, including developing a work plan and identifying and funding construction contracts. I'm also thrilled to say that the first ever Virgin Islands Brownfields Interagency Working Group meeting will be held tomorrow. And that meeting will bring together federal and local agencies to discuss how existing resources can be brought to bear to advance local redevelopment projects. This demonstrates that EPA's Brownfields program works to provide assistance, both in funding as well as through technical assistance, to help the Virgin Islands government and local partners to identify sites for assessment, cleanup, and ultimately reuse and redevelopment. This type of investment exemplifies the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to advance economic opportunities and address environmental justice issues in local communities, especially those that have traditionally been underserved. And before we hear from Congresswoman Plaskett, I want to extend my personal thanks to everyone here today and people who've been on this program the whole week for your dedication to the critical work of addressing brownfields in your communities. It truly does make an impact that can be seen and felt for years to come. Now, Jean, back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Walter. It is now my honor to introduce Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, who will be serving her fourth term as the U.S. Virgin Islands at-large representative to the U.S. House of Representatives. She has prioritized the development of economically depressed rural and urban areas to advance safety and security and working in partnership to achieve these goals. Let's hear her remarks now.
Thank you, Acting Regional Administrator Mugdan, for inviting me to speak at the 6th Annual Caribbean Brownsfield Week. I would also like to thank all of the participants in attendance at this conference. It's an honor to be before you today on the very important issue of reimagining recovery for resilient communities. My name is Stacey Plaskett, and I represent the Virgin Islands in the U.S. House of Representatives. The EPA's Brownfields and Land Revitalization Program has been an important tool in helping communities address blighted properties since its creation over 20 years ago. Through the Brownfield program, local governments are able to assess, clean up, and reuse vacant or contaminated land, transforming these areas and spurring community revitalization. We took a critical step forward in Congress to make the Brownfield program even more effective when we passed the fiscal year 2020 Omnibus Appropriations Bill and applied to the program the 10-20-30 formula, a proposal initially put forward by House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, whereby 10% of funds for the programs are set aside, discretionary funds are set aside for areas that have had 20% or more of their population living in poverty for the last 30 years. Importantly, this language is amended to include the U.S. territories, and I am optimistic that applying this formula will ensure the equitable transformation of brownfields across the United States, including in the territories. Supporting resiliency is one of the most important issues facing so many communities, especially in my home of the Virgin Islands. In my district, people still feel the aftermath of major Category 5 hurricanes every day. It's been our new normal for some time before the current new normal of life in the midst of a global pandemic. In fact, the threats posed by various natural disasters, including droughts, floods, and catastrophic storms, have made reimagining recovery a necessity for the Virgin Islands. Thankfully, the EPA has been a crucial partner in helping us to recover from the damages we've incurred in recent years and improve our resiliency going forward. In the wake of Hurricanes Maria and Irma, EPA personnel conducted over 1,200 on-site assessments of drinking water systems and 33 on-site assessments of wastewater systems in the Virgin Islands by the end of November 2017 alone. Last year, senior EPA officials visited the Virgin Islands and witnessed firsthand some of the progress we've made in our disaster recovery and resiliency promotion efforts. During this trip, the EPA also emphasized its commitment to supporting our ongoing replacement of almost 18,000 feet of aging iron pipes. Recent EPA Clean Water Act construction grants that the territory has received have been critical in advancing this project, and I look forward to continue working with the EPA to address this important issue. Another area where the Virgin Islands has made significant progress in bolstering resiliency efforts is with regard to our Anguilla landfill and Anguilla wastewater treatment plant. Historically, the Anguilla wastewater treatment plant has faced difficulties in meeting EPA consent decree requirements, while the Anguilla landfill was rendered inoperable in July 2019 when it caught fire, destroying the heavy equipment that was crucial to the landfill operation. But the Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority has begun taking important steps to improve the resiliency of both these operations going forward by leveraging about $40 million in grant funding from the EPA. Thanks to this support, the Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority can improve its preparedness to manage waste from future storms while applying sustainable practices. Of course, there are other areas of federal policy where we can better support resiliency and recovery for communities like my own. For example, the special resiliency assistance provided to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico by the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2018 is not inclusive of critical projects like solid waste management, stormwater management, public housing, and transportation infrastructure. I have sponsored legislation with my colleague from Puerto Rico, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, in the Resiliency Enhancement Act to make such additional infrastructure eligible to be rebuilt to industry standards under the same authority as schools, hospitals, and utilities, notwithstanding pre-disaster conditions. I've reintroduced this legislation in the 117th Congress, and it is one of my top priorities for the forthcoming infrastructure package. The Virgin Islands will need additional support and investment going forward to support our long-term economic recovery and financial viability. While the American Rescue Act was a monumental step in supporting the territories, additional investments are needed to continue advancing this program. President Biden's proposed American Jobs Plan, which is currently under discussion in Congress, would create a new $5 billion investment in remediation and redevelopment of brownfield and Superfund sites. It would also provide $56 billion to modernize drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems in the U.S., while also investing $10 billion in a new generation of conservation and resiliency workers. This legislation would be a historic investment in our nation's infrastructure, while also placing a strong emphasis on addressing changing climate and improving resiliency efforts. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to speak before you and for your attention to issues of reimagining recovery and planning more resilient communities. I look forward to working with you all going forward to address these important issues. Thank you.
We so appreciate the Congresswoman's leadership in Congress. We will now hear from Ariel Iglesias, Director of Land, Chemicals, and Redevelopment Division at EPA Region 2 in New York City. He's responsible for overseeing the implementation of EPA's Brownfield Revitalization Program, including sustainable materials management, underground storage tanks, and hazardous waste cleanup. A native of Puerto Rico, Ariel has been a member of EPA Region 2 Senior Management Team since 2011. Ariel?
Thank you, Jean. Good morning. I'm Ariel Iglesias, as Jean said. I'm the Director of EPA's Region 2 Land, Chemicals, and Redevelopment Division. On behalf of EPA's Region 2's Brownfields program, it is my pleasure to join our Acting Regional Administrator, Walter Mugdan, Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and the other EPA and DPNR dignitaries and colleagues and CCLR in welcoming you to this year's Caribbean Brownfields Week, with an emphasis today and tomorrow on brownfields redevelopment opportunities in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Our brownfields team is hard at work building partnerships and providing assistance so that you and our partners in the U.S. Virgin Islands can take advantage of tools and resources available within EPA's Brownfields program. Our goal are twofold: to support sustainable development and foster workforce development. As Walter mentioned, the Brownfields program is a cornerstone of EPA's work in supporting communities in their redevelopment efforts. Cleaning up and reusing contaminated properties protects environment, reinvigorates communities, jumpstarts local economies, preserves green space, and can lead to the prevention of sprawl. And partnerships are an important part of this work. Throughout today and tomorrow, our team of experts in the Brownfields program will be available to answer your questions and provide technical assistance to help potential applicants understand EPA's Brownfields funding opportunities and the application and competition process. Today, also, you'll hear from environmental workforce development and job training practitioners on a panel entitled Jobs as the Cornerstone for Revitalization. These experts cultivate a labor force responsible for performing the work of cleaning up and redeveloping brownfields. In this panel, you will hear how the revitalization of brownfields can provide opportunities for job recruiting, training, and placement in the Caribbean. Without a well-trained environmental workforce, sites would sit idle, burdening communities and stalling revitalization. Tomorrow, I'm happy to say that we will be holding our first USVI Brownfields Interagency Workgroup meeting, as Walter indicated previously. These interagency workgroup meetings provide a unique opportunity for local organizations to discuss their redevelopment projects and ideas with a group of territorial and federal agencies so that you can receive important feedback on potential funding opportunities, feedback on other important areas such as permitting requirements and integration with other local efforts. Another goal of ours is that next year we hope to announce one or more new EPA Brownfields grant recipients in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I want to thank you for your participation in today's and tomorrow's events. I really want to encourage you to take advantage of the unique opportunity to have our team present so they can help answer any questions you may have. I wish everyone a productive participation. Thanks again for joining us today and hope that we can see you soon in person. Jean, back to you.
Thank you, Ariel. Many of you know Carmen Guerrero, Director of U.S. EPA's Caribbean Environmental Protection Division. A tireless advocate for the environment, Ms. Guerrero uses her extensive real-world experience to tackle real-world complexity in protecting Puerto Rico's coastal areas and ecosystems. Her leadership has stewarded the Caribbean through natural disasters and strengthened its resiliency and adaptation capacity. We look forward to her remarks now.
Greetings. On behalf of the entire team of EPA Region 2, we would like to welcome you to the Caribbean Brownfields Virtual Week, Reimagining Recovery for Resilient Communities. We're the team from the Center for Creative Land Recycling and the Environmental Protection Agency, along with many other contributors, will be presenting valuable information about brownfields redevelopment. As you will learn in this conference, EPA's Brownfields grants focus on a multiple set of areas, from planning and inventory, community engagement and participation, assessment, characterization and removal of contaminants, and workforce training and redevelopment, among others. The purpose of EPA's Brownfields program is much more than to help assess and clean up individual properties that may be contaminated and eliminate the public health risks that these may pose. This program also serves as a catalyst in the economic and social revitalization of the communities where these properties are located. Earlier this week, we were pleased to announce the selection of 3 new municipalities in Puerto Rico that will be receiving grants from the EPA Brownfields program. As with these municipalities, we want to share the tools so that more local government and non-government entities in the U.S. Virgin Islands can benefit from our grants. During this week's conference, we have the participation of multiple non-governmental organizations presenting their initiatives and achievements focused on promoting social equity and sustainable development using creativity, innovation, and unique methodologies, such as the Virgin Islands Architecture Center for Built Heritage and Crafts, among others. We have an ambitious agenda full of projects that are an example of how much we can do with vision and ingenuity. With your commitment, we can continue to impact our communities, revitalize urban centers, and abandon industrial zones through the reuse of these spaces. We hope that this virtual conference will provide you with an opportunity to share information, exchange ideas and strategies, and motivate you to use the tools that we have available to you today. We count on you to continue leading efforts to rebuild, redevelop, and revitalize the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you so much, and have an excellent conference and a very productive rest of the week. Thank you so much.
We thank the EPA Region 2 leadership and hope to see you all in person, both in New York and in the Caribbean very soon. This includes New York colleagues Terry Wesley, Brownfield Section Chief, and Shanine Mitchell and Yocasta de Jesus, Environmental Protection Specialist. We also thank their Puerto Rico-based colleagues, Zolimar Luna and Brenda Reyes Tomasino, who worked alongside us to make this an inspiring and memorable conference. Lastly, we'll hear from Austin Callwood, Director of Environmental Protection at the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, representing Commissioner Jean-Pierre Ariel. Mr. Callwood has held a number of senior positions with DPNR, with the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, and in private and commercial business ventures.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Honorable Jean-Pierre Ariel, Commissioner of the Department of Planning and Natural Resources of the Government of the United States Virgin Islands, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th Annual Caribbean Brownfield Week, Reimagining Recovery for Resilient Communities. I'm Austin Callwood, Director of the Environmental Protection Division of DPNR. We are extremely grateful for the chance to co-host this event as it presents a unique opportunity to share ideas, experiences, and ways to combat distressed or abandoned buildings in our community. This is particularly fortuitous for Puerto Rico and the USVI, as we're still in the throes of recovery from the catastrophic impacts of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, and equally devastating physical, and psychological impacts of COVID-19. As we focus on managing the day-to-day responsibilities of our respective job, it is easy to overlook or hard to dedicate the time to address those derelict buildings, blighted areas, or long-standing sites of concern that are in our very midst. One of the principal reasons for this conference is to bring back that focus and channel our energies to getting key members of our own various elements of government, social, civic, and non-government entities to the table. Through funding received in a 128 assessment grant from EPA, the Virgin Islands has identified several potential brownfield sites throughout the territory, conducted phase 1 environmental assessments, and performed community outreach. We've also enacted brownfields legislation. This has led to additional conversations on what else can be done to clear those other areas of concern. We look forward to hearing from you during the conference on the challenges, successes, and on developing a path for a more resilient community. Thank you again, and welcome.
Thank you, Austin. I also want to do a shout out to your colleague at DPNR, Dr. Canencia Pell, who is our main contact for all our work in the Virgin Islands and for this conference. Thank you, Dr. Pell. Lastly, I want to expand on Ariel's comments about Friday's panel, Leveraging Public Support for Redevelopment, an Interagency Working Group. An interagency working group convenes federal agencies and local organizations to collaboratively address redevelopment project challenges. It is a heavy lift under non-COVID quarantine conditions to get a community group to develop a presentation laying out the status of their project and its challenges, and to line up specific agencies to share what resources they have available and how those resources can move the project forward. But it has all come together with a little grease and some goodwill. Please tune in at noon tomorrow to hear the Virgin Islands Architecture Center, or VIAC, present and learn from a half a dozen or more agencies like Economic Development Administration, the National Endowment for the Arts, Environmental Protection Agency, Community Foundation for the Virgin Islands, and more. VIAC will model how you could similarly present to a group of agencies. While it is unlikely you could use all of the funding or assistance each agency has available at one time, understanding what they offer will allow you to think strategically about how to move your project forward to leverage these resources. And we hope you'll stay for conference closing remarks on building resilient communities with the indomitable Dina James, president of the St. Croix Foundation for Community Development, and the equally indomitable Lori Showman from Enterprise Partners in conversation with CCLR's David Southgate. My last task is to tell you a little about the conference and how to maximize your 2 days with us. For this conference, we have invested in a platform that allows small group networking, exhibitor booth, and key panels. We hope you'll join us and watch all the sessions live, but we are recording them and we'll make recordings available after the conference. Please take a moment to explore this platform. When you enter, you are in the lobby. There are 3 important tabs on the left-hand side of your screen. Take a moment to find Sessions, Exhibitor, and Networking tabs. Next slide. To join our sessions, click on the Sessions tab and select a live session. The sessions are in order of date and time. Next. If you click on the link for the exhibitor booth, you'll see our 3D-dimensional exhibitor area. Make sure you reserve time and visit and introduce yourself to our wonderful federal agencies and local resources that have made themselves available to share information and expertise. If they're not there when you go to visit them, you can leave them a note by requesting more information so they'll get a notice that you stopped by and can follow up with you. If they are there, you'll be able to live chat with them via video. To join them on video, select Live Join. Up to 25 people can join at an exhibitor booth, so don't be shy. Just join a conversation as you visit each booth. Next. Lastly, we added a feature especially for this conference to allow you to meet in small groups. After this session, stretch, grab some lunch, and join us for small group networking. To participate, just click on the networking tab on the left-hand menu, and at the top, you'll see a tab called Groups. Enter into the room of your choice by topic or for general discussion. Please ensure you've allowed the Google Chrome browser to access your audio and video by clicking on the lock icon on your internet web browser and select Allow. You can see I'm not a techie. That is direct from our platform consultants. Also visit the People tab. You can see who's registered for the conference so you can expand your network. Once you select this, you'll enter the group discussion and have option to share video and audio to participate live on screen and with your peers. Small group networking will start immediately following this session until noon, at which time tune into Creative Art Space and how to make it happen. And if you have any technical issues, please use the Contact Us video widget at the bottom of your left screen to connect with our live support staff. We've left registration open, so have your colleagues join you for Thursday and Friday programming and to access their recordings. The registration link is in the lobby. Thank you so much for joining us at Caribbean Brownfield Week. We hope the conference will inspire conversation, create new affiliations, and be a call to action for building economically and environmentally resilient communities. CCLR and EPA are here to support you. Enjoy the rest of the conference.